Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're watching AMTV, Alternative Media Television. Thank you for your support joining us on demand. Price of a cup of coffee a month. If you click the link below, you get a 7-day free trial, and then you like it, you continue to support us. We, of course, are broadcasting 2 days a week, live Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 11 Arizona time, Pacific time, and 1 to 2 East Coast time, and just adjust your time anywhere in the world you might be. And please support us at our store as well. We've got a special on our bug out bags, our 2-pack especially, ships in 2 days. Grab it and go. You're going to need it. Just like people in Puerto Rico need it, as the government is rationing supplies, diapers, food, water, and basically everything you need for your very survival. You see, the government is in control of your well-being, America, not you, unless you prepare yourself. So it's another subtle reminder to take care of business ahead of time, because you don't want to be the individual, I've said this many times before, panicking at a time of panic. You don't want to be showing up at the grocery store when everybody else is, because they know a storm is about to hit. And of course, there's warnings of these storms. Now, we haven't gotten weather events like this, weather modification, engineered weather, in 1,000 years. Okay, this is biblical what we're seeing. We're seeing fires decimate the entire west coast of the United States of America. We have back-to-back Category 4, 5 hurricane storms in the name of Harvey flooding out Texans, sending many people into poverty and homelessness, tragically as a result. Storms barreling in like Irma into Florida, of which we covered extensively, destroying property, land, homes, major infrastructure, clearing out and evacuating major cities in the United States of America, followed by Maria, soon to blast Puerto Rico and potentially devastate this area, which is also bankrupt because it spent itself into oblivion, just like the United States has, $20 trillion in debt. So talk about bankruptcy papering over bankruptcy, papering over bankruptcy, because we are talking about hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in aid that's going to be needed, which we've already built into the system here with Harvey and Irma. I don't know how we're going to pay for it. They're going to tax you is what they're going to do, and they're going to keep raising the debt. And that's what people need to understand with all of these donation drives and all these kinds of things. You show up at your supermarket, and they're trying to do a good thing. They say donate to Harvey and these things. You're already donating to Harvey, whether you know it or not. They've raised the debt. That's what Trump just did. And you're going to pay for it through your tax dollars anyway. Okay, because they create money out of thin air. It doesn't mean anything. They hit a printing press. There's like a button at the Federal Reserve. They just hit it, and just all this money spews out. It's not backed by anything, so they can print it. It's not worth the paper that it's printed on. So they just print in limited amounts into infinity until it eventually will collapse, which is what's going to happen. So it's interesting how in the dark people are about weather modification, weather warfare, and weather engineering when their own government here in the United States has been doing it for over 75 years. Cloud seeding ski mountains, for example, just because it's good for sport. We talked about this a couple of days ago. China cloud seeding their Olympic Games not too long ago. Russia doing the same. You see, what gets my goat and makes me angry is I know the government has the technology to break up these storms, which begs the question why they're not. Why they're allowing these nuclear events to take place, as the leadership in Florida had reminded us with Irma, to hit key infrastructure in the USA and decimate this part of the country. Why would they be allowing this, folks, when they've got the technology to modify and alter weather? I mean, if you believe in scientism, climate change, then implicitly you also believe that your government can modify weather. Because if you believe that people are responsible, narcissistic, self-important people are responsible for climate change, then you implicitly also believe that the government can alter and modify the weather at will. That man can change the dynamic of these weather events. I talked about Richard Branson, Mr. Billionaire, tweeting earlier that he's very angry at people that don't believe in his religion, scientism, and climate change. He's very angry that they would deny, he says, this modification of weather. Well, Richard, we don't believe your bullshit. We don't believe you. We don't think we're that self-important. And by the way, your scientism has no evidence to prove that human beings actually affect climate change. There is zero evidence. There's politicization of it. There's people like the quote-unquote self-described founder of the internet, Al Gore, who made a fiction movie on it. I mean, I guess that's the evidence there, a fiction documentary. Coming from the same guy, by the way, who sold his current TV to oil interests out of Qatar. Says he's worried about climate change, yet he sold his current TV for like $1 billion+ to Qatari emperors who make all their money in the trade of dirty oil. It's just the politicization of all this. See, it's not based in reality. It's all a fiction. So I'm sorry, Richard, just because you're a billionaire doesn't make you more important than me or anyone tuning in here. We just don't believe in your religion. There's no facts to back it up at all. But we do have facts to prove that the government is modifying the weather. So if you want to get angry about something, get angry at your own government that they're not stopping these storms. But Richard, you're smarter than that. You know the truth, just like I do. But again, this is political in nature for you. It's corporate agenda in nature for you. There's a reason that the large corporations, that if anyone was causing climate change, it'd be them, right? It'd be Virgin. I mean, what does one of those companies do? Just fly CO2 gases via his private, luxurious airplane fleet all over the world? I mean, if anybody's responsible, it's Richard Branson. In fact, I'm angry at Richard Branson. If anything, he'd be trying to pursue new technology like electric flying airplanes or something like that. But no, he's just spewing CO2 gases in his private jet and also his fleet at Virgin on a daily basis, destroying and ruining the earth. Also, he can just pocket a couple $1 billion and then tweet total BS to the American public that he's so angry that the American people don't believe a total lie, a total sham, based on no evidence and no facts that humans actually affect weather at all. That's the truth. Your government, folks, and if you don't believe me, look it up for yourself, has been cloud seeding, altering, modifying, and engineering weather events for over 75 years. Longer than most of you tuning in, myself included, have even been alive. It's really shocking to think about, but it is the hardcore truth. Now, there's also some pretty amazing news today. Donald Trump gave a very stern speech. We'll probably go to a few clips of this. A very, very stern speech where he takes on the United Nations, slams socialism, which I would agree with, targets rogue regimes like North Korea. Now, he was so firm on his statements to North Korea. And they're so scared that Kim Jong-un has decided to fire another missile tomorrow. Yeah, in fact, Trump's reactionary tweets have Kim Jong-un and the North Korean government so worried that they plan on to continue to pursue their nuclear capability. You see, actions speak louder than words, Trump. I mean, how many missiles has Kim Jong-un fired? 6? 7? Something like that, in addition to a hydrogen bomb. You notice how the truth deniers, the fact deniers, the Richard Bransons of the world never talk about how man might influence weather by all the nuclear bombs that we've been dropping over the years. In fact, I've got family over in Hawaii, and if you just look out towards some of the other islands, like let's say you're on the island of Maui, and you just look out towards the distance, you can see the islands where the U.S. government years ago just dropped nukes on them. You don't think that affects weather or the environment, Richard Branson? It certainly does, just like I'm sure that Kim Jong-un testing a hydrogen bomb underneath a mountain is affecting some of these events. But again, it's all a lie. So North Korea's, they're shaking in their boots. I mean, what will Trump tweet next, right? Kim Jong-un is so scared he's going to fire another missile over Japan tomorrow. There's been 2 missiles fired over a U.S. ally. 2. See, Trump's not doing anything. He's just, I never thought that while I was alive, I never thought in world history that North Korea would have the upper hand on the United States of America. But they really do. You see, Trump is forced to negotiate with Kim Jong-un. That's what he won't tell you, because the United States is extremely, extremely weakened and extremely, extremely weak geopolitically at this point. Because if he doesn't, he will face the full wrath and retaliation of China, Russia, and Iran, another country that Trump has had to negotiate with. So you can make firm statements, you can spew your rhetoric, and you can react after every missile Kim Jong-un fires with a very stern tweet. Oh, it's so scary, Mr. Trump. But in reality, you're taking zero action, and you're doing nothing. You know who's taking action? Kim Jong-un, and he'll be firing another missile very soon. It's exactly why my greatest worry, and I've expressed this many times over the last several years, is that I'm fearful Trump is going to wait for a Pearl Harbor event to hit, potentially a false flag attack, so that he can justify and sell a very unpopular war he otherwise couldn't engage the American people in, because nobody's going to support Mr. Trump a preemptive strike against North Korea without an event like that taking place. I've talked about it a lot. So although his speech might have been very good and very forceful and very eloquent, John Bolton, who we've interviewed here at AMTV in prior years, says it was the best speech of Donald Trump's presidency. Well, that might be, folks, but it was just a speech. It was zero action, just rhetoric, just talk, and just tweets. And belittling of these rogue nations, referring to Kim Jong-un like he's Rocket Man. Is that a song by Elton John? Maybe that's what Trump was referring to. Let's see if we can go to bits and pieces of Trump's speech. It's a pretty long timeline. What is it, about an hour? Okay, so we'll just go and see if we can just get some nuggets from this, or at least hear a few words from the tweeter himself in chief, Donald J. Trump. Stop it right there, Alex. Notice how he's wearing a blue tie, not a red tie. Very kind of a peaceful, unconscious cue versus red. It's like, the bull sees it, wants to charge. War is imminent. He's got a blue tie. He's a tweeter-in-chief and a peacemaker. Let's continue.
Mr. Secretary General, Mr. President, world leaders, and distinguished delegates, welcome to New York. It is a profound honor to stand here in my home city as a representative of the American people to address the people of the world. As millions of our citizens continue to suffer the effects of the devastating hurricanes that have struck our country,
engineered
I want to begin by expressing my appreciation
manufactured
to every leader in this room who has offered assistance and aid. The American people are strong and resilient, and they will emerge from these hardships more determined than ever before.
With massive
Fortunately, the United States has done very well since Election Day last November 8th. The stock market is at an all-time high.
Notice how Donald Trump now takes credit for the stock market boom, whereas before, his whole campaign, he warned of a massive economic collapse. A massive stock market crash would be the worst thing that we'd ever seen, that would devastate America, be worse than 1929. And remember when he said, believe me, it's a bubble. It's a bubble, America. It's a bubble. And now he's flip-flopped casually. He's taking credit for it. Please continue.
a record. Unemployment is at its lowest level in 16 years. And because of our regulatory...
That's because no one's working, Mr. Trump. Everybody's on welfare and government subsidies and assistance. So a lot of Americans just have flat out given up. It's such a job holocaust out there that most Americans, they flat out have put their head in the sand and they're just taking free money from the government. So it's not as good as you're sales pitching us right now, but please continue, Mr. President.
And other reforms, we have more people working in the United States today than ever before.
Okay, cut it there. Working for who? 5 monopolies? There's only 5 companies that represent the entire U.S. economy. Google, Amazon, Facebook, Apple. I'm missing one of them. I tweeted this earlier. Let's go to my tweet feed. AMTV Media here. There's only 5 companies that represent a total monopoly in the United States. So is that who they're working for as they just move towards artificial intelligence and there's no need for human workers? Looking for that tweet because I'm missing that fifth and that. I find that irritating. I can't think of that tweet. So I'm looking at my Twitter feed. Help me out here, guys. AMTV Media. I won't let this slide. We've got to figure it out. Microsoft. Is that what I missed? Yeah, Microsoft is the company I missed. So just 5 companies own all the wealth in America. Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Facebook. It's our entire economy. Isn't that great? In fact, with the recent monopolistic acquisition that Amazon made with Whole Foods, they now have every intent to destroy and put out of business every grocery store in America. Every Ralph's, Vons, Safeway, H-E-B in America has every intent to bankrupt every single one of these companies and operate at a loss in America for as long as is needed until they put everyone out of business just because they can. And I got a reply, well, Christopher, Whole Foods is still awesome and they cut pricing in half. Short-term gain for long-term pain. As soon as they put all their competition out of business and continue operating at a loss to do it because they can, because basically Amazon is a giant illegal monopoly here in the United States of America, they will then have complete pricing power, total control, and they'll raise pricing. And guess what? You won't have any competitor to go to, just Amazon. On top of that, because they'll be the only supplier of food. That will be the singular infrastructure that supplies all the food for Americans to eat. If there's ever any kind of disruption, problem, shutdown, or anything like that, you'll go hungry and starve in the streets of America because everyone's depending on a single monopoly. Please continue, Mr. President.
Companies are moving back, creating job growth the likes of which our country has not seen in a very long time. And it has just been announced that we will be spending almost $700 billion on our military and defense.
Oh, that's awesome. Let's stop it there. Wow, $700 billion. That's great, Mr. President. President Trump, that's wonderful. Well, you keep raising the debt. Why not make it $1 trillion? That sounds a lot better. $2 trillion maybe? $3 trillion? Because I like nothing better than paying my taxes so you can drop more bombs. Please continue. That's great news.
Will soon be the strongest it has ever been. For more than 70 years, in times of war and peace, the leaders of nations, movements, and religions have stood before this assembly. Like them, I intend to address some...
This is Trump on North Korea. I'm looking at an article from CBS New York. We'll probably get there in this speech, but he says, Rocket Man is on a suicide mission. It doesn't really look like it, Mr. Trump. You see, it looks like Kim Jong-un is kind of cleaning your clock right now, in actuality. I mean, he's the one actually firing missiles and building nuclear technology that now can hit every American city in the country, and that many top intelligence experts are warning that places like Long Beach, California might be facing imminent nuclear attack, which could potentially wipe out millions of Angelinos. But please continue, Mr. President, because your rhetoric and words is just so stern. So stern. Wow.
Some of the very serious threats before us today, but also the enormous potential waiting to be unleashed.
You know what
We
the
live in a
greatest threat is?
time-
Stop it there, is the U.S. federal government, our military-industrial complex, the monopolies that I just mentioned, the surveillance state, which is, by the way, still spying on you, but nobody seems to care. They're doing it right out in the open illegally. That's the biggest threat. These too big to fail banksters, people like Jamie Dimon of J.P. Morgan Chase, those are the real enemies of this country, Mr. President. But please continue. The speech has been great so far. I'm loving it.
Of extraordinary opportunity. Breakthroughs in science, technology, and medicine.
Breakthroughs in science
are
and
curing
technology like
illnesses
weather
and
modification?
solving problems that prior generations thought impossible to solve.
Oh, like what?
But
Universal
each day
welfare?
also
You can
brings
stop it there, Alex.
news
Say universal welfare. So, you're going to just pay all of us little people because none of us will have jobs, but Jeff Bezos will be worth a few billion dollars more, so he can bump his stock price a couple pennies on the backs of all of us little peasants. You mean this upside down pyramid here that we've got? This upside down New World Order pyramid where all the baby boomers sit up here that have worked their entire lives and have been stolen from in 2008 and 2009 and can't depend on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. You're talking about that? All the millennials down here that are supposed to support. I mean, can you imagine? This is the weakest the country's ever been in world history. Upon invasion, millennials would probably just throw down their cell phones and wave the white flag. I'm not pigeonholing anyone tuning in here, but I mean, let's be realistic here. We're probably the weakest we've ever been in world history. But please continue, Mr. President. Great speech.
growing dangers that threaten everything we cherish and value. Terrorists and extremists have gathered strength and spread to every region of the planet.
Stop it there. Yep, you're absolutely right. In fact, we're less safe now than we were prior to September 11th and after the U.S. Unpatriot Act. So after all the surveillance, all of the tyranny, and taking away all my freedom, you're 100% correct, President. We are less safe here in the United States of America. We are so less safe that there are so many terror attacks on an ongoing daily basis in Europe and in the United States, I can't even report on all of them because it's so frequent and it's happening so frequently as a result of you stealing all of our freedom post-September 11th through previous administrations and then continuing that, Mr. President, because, again, you haven't done anything to stop the surveillance state since moving into power here. In fact, you want to extend the surveillance state. So you're right. As a result of the United States federal government, U.S. intelligence covert operations creating Al-Qaeda in the first place and then supporting and backing people, funding and arming people like Osama bin Laden as we were fighting the Russians years ago in Afghanistan, but then turning on it when it became convenient and then him being killed multiple times. A 6 foot, 4 guy who lived in a cave, probably playing Xbox or something, who was on dialysis that somehow the U.S. military industrial complex surveillance state just couldn't find. Some dude who was literally standing 6'4". And then after that, when they told us and sold us the lie, the biggest lie ever sold, that Al-Qaeda had been eradicated because big bad wolf Obama had gone in and gotten rid of Osama bin Laden, then they conveniently created something that never had even existed before. Another Operation Deep State Intelligence Op known as ISIS, or better known as Israeli Secret Intelligence Service, which now is the new Durka Al-Qaeda that every American, European fears and is being blown apart into smithereens on a daily basis. So you're 100% right there. There is more terror today, Mr. President, post the Unpatriot Act and post September 11th and post taking away all of our freedom and stealing it from every American, which, by the way, is illegal and unconstitutional, than there's ever been. Please continue.
Rogue regimes represented in this body not only support terrorists, but threaten other nations and their own people with the most destructive weapons known to humanity. Authority and authoritarian powers seek to collapse the values, the systems, and alliances.
Okay, so let's stop it there. Authoritarian powers. You're using these big, grandiose words. Oh my gosh, Trump, I don't know what they mean. Your speechwriters are so smart. Well, let's see here. How does the United States operate? Well, there's monopolies. So really how it operates is it's like an oligopoly. There's just a couple people that control everything. There's lobbying interests that basically feed tons of money into Washington, D.C., and then basically control the government infrastructure and even predetermine who's actually elected as president. In fact, a normal person can't even run as president because if you're not a part of the oligopolistic interests, you'd never even get there. So, wow, you're just using such big words. It's really impressive. Your speechwriters are really good. But it actually appears that we live under an authoritarian regime here in the United States of America that, in fact, and many academics and professors, philosophers, intellectuals, people just of above average intelligence would actually agree, even small middle school children, some of them are smart enough to know that actually it seems like we live under tyranny here in the United States ourselves, and that our own government is in actuality the authoritarian regime you're speaking to. But please continue. I'm very impressed with these very smart words.
Prevented conflict and tilted the world toward freedom since World War II. International criminal networks.
Notice how he threw in
traffic,
World
drugs,
War
weapons,
II
people,
there?
forced
Because we're approaching
dislocation
World
and
War
mass
III. Once you
migration,
familiarize yourself with
threaten our borders,
predictive programming.
and new forms of aggression, exploit technology.
Oh, by the way, stop it there. I really want to
menace
congratulate the president for building a massive wall. This thing is so big. Have you guys seen it? Down in Mexico? This thing is huge. It's the biggest wall I've ever seen. Oh, wait a minute. There is no wall. And he's even been negotiating on that. I'm sorry. My mistake. I know that was a campaign promise. But no worries. You can basically just not do anything you told us you were going to do. Please continue.
Our citizens. To put it simply, we meet at a time of both immense promise and great peril. It is entirely up to us whether we lift the world to new heights or let it fall into a valley of disrepair. We have it in our power,
As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
to lift millions from poverty, to help our citizens realize their dreams, and to ensure that new generations of children
That's
are
right,
raised
America. Let's
free
stop
from
it there. That's the
violence,
biggest lie
hatred.
ever sold. You can be whatever you want to be. Yeah, that's right. That's what the indoctrination system that teaches you to be a slave tells you. Oh, you can do whatever you want and be whoever you want to be, as long as you work for us, go to our schools, get massively in debt as a result of our BS credit system. You can be anything you want to be, as long as you're our own predictive brainwashed slave. Please continue.
And fear. This institution was founded in the aftermath of 2 world wars to help
There he
shape
uses it again,
this
world
better
wars.
future. It was based on the vision that diverse nations could cooperate to protect their sovereignty, preserve their security,
Like China?
and promote
Like
their
China, Mr.
prosperity.
President? You can stop it there, Alex.
was-
Maybe turn down the volume in my ear just a tad if you could. Oh, nations are going to help us. Oh, like China. Remember China? Remember how Donald Trump said when he was sitting there with his piece of cake when he struck Syria? By the way, what we're seeing right now with North Korea is a direct repercussion and consequence of Donald Trump's strike in Syria, of which we predicted here at AMTV before it happened. Literally predicted before it happened. We've been warning about it for years. So you're going to negotiate with these other nations. Oh, that's right, the UN, etc. Countries like China, Trump has sold us another lie, that are going to rein in North Korea. No, they're not. No, they're not. China just said over the weekend, just a couple of days ago, that Trump, you better back off North Korea. Know your place, Trump, is what China told you. Because again, who's in the driver's seat and who's in control? China, Russia, Iran, and proxy, North Korea. Go ahead, though. Great speech so far. Very powerful.
It was in the same period, exactly 70 years ago, that the United States developed the Marshall Plan to help restore Europe. Those 3 beautiful pillars.
Good.
They're pillars of peace,
Martial law or Marshall
sovereignty,
Plan?
security, and prosperity. The Marshall Plan was built
We are
on the
so
noble
prosperous
idea
with debt.
that the whole world is safer when nations are strong, independent, and free. As President Truman said in his message to Congress at that time,
Pause it here,
our
Alex.
support
I do
of
want to mention,
European-
too, this is a great teleprompter read. For someone who always constantly told us, I don't use teleprompters, I speak from the heart, I just want to say this teleprompter pre-packaged, pre-written speech by your professional speech writers cueing you via teleprompter right now is really good. The tempo of how you're speaking and presenting, it's just so, it's really good. This is a great teleprompter manufactured speech, Mr. President. Please continue.
In recovery is in full accord with our support of the United Nations. The success of the United Nations depends upon the independent strength of its members. To overcome the perils of the present and to achieve the promise of the future, we must begin with the wisdom of the past. Our success depends on a coalition of strong and independent nations that embrace their sovereignty to promote security, prosperity, and peace for themselves and for the world. We do not expect diverse countries to share the same cultures, traditions, or even systems of government, but we do expect all nations to uphold these two core sovereign duties: to respect the interests of their own people and the rights of every other sovereign nation. This is the beautiful vision of this institution, and this is the foundation for cooperation and success. Strong sovereign nations let diverse countries with different values, different cultures, and different dreams not just coexist, but work side by side on the basis of mutual respect. Strong sovereign nations
cut it there.
let their
Let's go to an article. So those are the basics of Trump's speech, obviously being quite facetious throughout it. But again, it's a lot of big rosy words and sternness and great teleprompter read and this kind of thing. But it's just talk. I mean, let's just be honest here. It's just talk, Mr. President. You're going to have to negotiate with Kim Jong-un, the guy with the bad haircut that you make fun of, Rocket Man. You're going to negotiate. Yeah, that's right, Mr. Trump. Big corporate badass yourself, art of the deal. You better start negotiating because we know who wears the pants in this relationship, and it's not you. It's China, Russia, Iran, and their proxy, North Korea. So start negotiating, Donald Trump. And that's just the truth. Again, I'm sure there's going to be some vigorous tweeting after Kim Jong-un launches his 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, maybe very, very real nuclear warhead missile that, God forbid, hits Japan, Guam, or God forbid, the west coast of the United States or any city in the world for that matter. I bet those tweets post those massive events, false flag attacks will be super aggressive. Oh, we're going to fight back hard. Oh, yeah, don't do it again, Kim Jong-un. You're on a suicide mission. I'm Donald Trump, and I'm gonna tweet this out. A lot of tweeting going on. A lot of tweeting, a lot of talk, a lot of baseless rhetoric, and a lot of unfulfilled promises that I've become and many of your supporters have become very, very irritated with. So we'll continue to update you on all these developments. Again, I'll be reporting on a brand new missile launch, probably within about 24 hours. And Alex and I will make sure to live stream this to you right when it happens. I would guarantee this is coming very, very soon. In fact, I'll say it again. Kim Jong-un, North Korea are so scared of your speech, they plan on making no changes to their predetermined launch of a new missile tomorrow. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Here I am cruising around CNBC right now. I just want to give you an update on Category 5, geoengineered, manufactured, government-propelled Maria, which has pummeled the Dominica, barrels toward the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico. A second powerful storm in as many weeks ripped through a string of battered Caribbean islands. Maria is now a Category 5 storm. The worst of the worst, I read it up to 160 mile per hour winds. The Hurricane Center also issued a tropical storm watch for portions of the U.S., Mid-Atlantic, and New England coast by Tuesday for Hurricane Jose. So there's another one coming too that they've engineered for us. Hurricane Maria caused mind-boggling damage, ripping off roofs across the small island of Dominica before pushing on towards the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico on Tuesday as the second top-strength storm to lash the Caribbean this month. Hey, I'm actually getting a call from Russia. Must be RT. Yeah, they were actually reaching out to me yesterday. I decided not to go on. I don't know. They wanted me to talk about something. I'm just like, I don't know. I always think it's interesting when we get the call. Maria regained rare Category 5 strength, the top end of the 5-step Saffir-Simpson scale. Yeah, still calling. As it churned about 170 miles southeast of St. Croix, is that how you say it? And the U.S. Virgin Islands, U.S. forecasters said. So you see some of the just biggest, massive, most terrifying global weather-modified events in world history. Either that or these are just biblical telltale signs of the end of the world, coming apocalypse, and the second coming of Christ. I mean, geez, we have never seen anything like this, folks, in 1,000 years. Ever. Almost in the history of the world. And the way these are barreling through with just such precision, targeting very specific parts of our country, decimating them almost like a nuclear bomb or nuclear event, of which is exactly what Florida leadership, what was it, the governor there, had reminded us of at the time, does raise an eyebrow and raise suspicion. Creates a lot of panic, makes all the people dependent on the government, helps to very conveniently evacuate American cities that maybe the government has other plans for, let's say a future event, false flag attack or something like that. I mean, what better way to plant or stage a future catastrophe by clearing out all these cities in a mass evacuation? You see, as the sheep flood out of the cities, the government can basically do whatever they want. Kind of makes you wonder what they might be doing in places like Miami, Florida, and Texas as they've been completely evacuated. It's just all very, very convenient. The storm plowed through Dominica, a mountainous island nation of 72,000 people in the Eastern Caribbean, late on Monday, causing devastation that Prime Minister Roosevelt described as mind-boggling. Let's go through to maybe a few questions here. And again, I really appreciate your support. Guys, on demand, if you enjoy what we're doing, you think what we're doing is making a difference, you want to see us continue to expand, broadcast the truth to the world, please support us. It's just the price of a cup of coffee. $5 a month supports everything that we do. Please patronize our store, buy food storage, buy your bug out bags. A lot of this stuff on discount right now. In fact, all AMTV food storage from 2-month to 12-month, 1 year, and that's just for one person. You've got to multiply that. If you're multiple people, is 15% off plus free shipping. I'm almost out of stock on the 30-day, so I've only got a few of those left. Also, the bug out bags, best deal is to get the 2-pack, which I think you need 2 anyways. 1 in your car, 1 in your truck, whatever you got. 1 at your residence. I could argue 3. Give them out as gifts too. Give them out to the people you care about. That's what I do. I just give them out to friends and family, especially around the holidays, this sort of thing. But especially now, as these once in a lifetime, never before happened in the history of the world, while at the same time Donald Trump is spewing World War rhetoric and saying that Kim Jong-un is on a suicide mission and a new missile's launched pretty much every second now, I can't think of a better time to be prepared, to get your ducks in a row, and also to support true alternative independent media that is being heavily censored by these massive Orwellian giants, tech elite, that just don't want this message getting out to you. They don't want you to hear what we have to say. So it couldn't be more important to take action, not just today, but right now, and support us in the ways I just mentioned. And of course, we are so humbled by that. My crew is. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everything that you guys do for us, it truly is an act of God. And I truly believe that we are broadcasting this message for a reason. And I know with 100% certainty that we would not be sitting here today if it wasn't because of you. And you taking action, voting with your wallets, praying for us, and supporting and sharing all of our great content, our mission and message out to the world. So if you haven't already, take a moment to please do that. Now, click that link below to visit our store, store.amtvmedia.com. That's store.amtvmedia.com. Now let's go to some questions here. Go through the round table. Ask me something good. I want to hear what you guys think. In fact, I've got to find the link to that. know if there's a way that you can send me that link, or what would be a good way so I can. Yeah, okay, let me do that. There we go. Okay, so let me pull that up. That'll give you a time to ask some very important questions, which I'll go to. Give me a brief second here. Okay, just pulling up our chat. Thomas said, is Rocket Man a code word? I don't think so. I think it's just some verbiage that Trump came up with. Hey, Hard News TV, what's up? Somebody says, Scotty Hall, you better learn to hunt and hide. Yeah, somebody said that the other day. It's like, Christopher, you had true conviction in Christ and God. No prepping is going to matter. Just no skills, no survival skills are matter. Well, number one, my full faith is in God and is in Christ, but survival skills do matter. I mean, why do you think God equipped Noah with Noah's Ark, right? People thought the guy was insane when he was building the thing, but it turns out it was absolute truth, and it was a forewarning of what was coming to the world, a cleansing. And it appears we are seeing the same warning signs, biblical signs, as we almost saw then today with these weather events, with these geopolitical events. And again, everybody's going to think you're a crackpot until the flood waters rush in, like they just recently did at Harvey, and people are banging down the door. The same critics that said, oh, it's never going to happen. The government's going to take care of me. It's fear-mongering. It will be the same people running for the hills, running for the exits, and banging down your door for supplies when the worst case scenario actually hits. So I actually have confidence in that. In fact, you know, a little bit of crazy is a good thing. People should think you're crazy because most people are indoctrinated in the system so heavily. They're so brainwashed in the system. I mean, the TV is just constantly blaring in the background. I mean, the unconscious brain manipulation and the subliminal messaging, it's so powerful. You can't blame the sheep for buying off on this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. Okay, it's just a byproduct of the government manipulation. So for the few of us that are actually truly awake, that understand, see the signals and the signs everywhere, are aware of a fallen world and the messaging coming from God, well, we're the few. You are the few tuning in. So I would take a little bit of pride in that. Not that pride is necessarily a good thing, but I would be humble in your acknowledgement of the truth and actually understanding reality for what it truly is, and taking precautions ahead of time. Because again, it's not a selfish act, folks. It is very unselfish to want to try to protect your communities, to want to try to protect your friends and family from what only maybe you might know is coming. That is a selfless, godly act. That is not an act of selfishness. And I think it's important to understand that. It's the principal reason to take action and to be prepped and to be prepared, in my humble opinion. Let's go to a few more questions here. It's funny too. People say, "Dude, you're following the Bible. You're not awake." People think that is, oh, you must be a sheep. Actually, I don't even consider myself that smart. The most highly intelligent people that I know, all Christians. The most highly intelligent people I know study the Bible. So, to each his own. Let's see what else we've got here. Chris, you rock. Viva Max channel. Thank you, my man. I appreciate that. You rock. Thanks for tuning in. Chris, what's your thoughts on a possible false flag event on September 23rd due to its prophetic nature? Well, obviously I can't predict the future, so I don't know, but I think it's entirely possible. I think we see the signs everywhere. I talked about this on my show a few days ago. I don't know if I'm just more spiritually inclined. People are more than others, but even as a small child, I could see quite obviously that we lived in a fallen world, that we were being controlled and manipulated and that indoctrinated into a system. I could see that very early on. So I don't know, to be honest, if you can't see the signs now, you're pretty blind. You've been overtaken and blinded by the media messaging, by the messaging of the government, of the entertainment complex. Your mind is not your own anymore. So I would just say respectfully, if you can't see the signs now, your eyes aren't open. You are completely blinded by the obvious. Juan21 says, hey, Chris, you would think Russia, China wouldn't allow a nuclear threat, North Korea to blow up in their face. So curious on what's to happen. Well, they're not. They're just planning for an inevitable world war. You see, China, Russia, Iran are stronger than the United States right now. I hate to say that. I mean, I'm a patriot. I love America. But the hardcore reality, because I'm not going to give you guys any BS on this channel, is the United States is far weaker at this given point of time than our enemies. China and Russia, Iran are in a much stronger strategic position on pretty much every level. Economically, they've caught up a lot when it comes to defense. It's one of the reasons Donald Trump is trying to unload right now $700 billion back into the military-industrial complex, because America's enemies have caught up to us. You see, they had a lot of rebuilding to do after Russia had collapsed many years ago. They've caught up. They're winning the war. Russia, for example, they're winning the propaganda war. I mean, literally, we have Russia calling me on my cell phone as I'm broadcasting the show here. They've won in every regard. Most Americans trust Snowden, Assange, and RT news than they do our own here in the United States. So it tells you who's winning. CNN has lost control. Status media here in the United States has lost control. MSNBC, Faux News, Fox News, they've lost control. RT is status propaganda as well, but at least they give more of a fair, balanced, alternative message that you're just not going to hear in the United States, because the media is so biased here in the United States. We've lost. Americans don't even trust, a growing minority, soon to be majority, don't even trust the messaging anymore. Reading through some more comments here. Yeah, like you said, everyone will see the truth when it's too late. Yeah, they'll wake up as soon as the blast hits. Yeah, all of it's in the Bible. Someone just said that. Chris, your phone is ringing. Oh, it's Russia again. Yeah, pretty much on a regular basis. They wanted me on for some kind of topic that I just wasn't too interested in. So unless I'm interested in it, or if I have something unique to say, there's really no reason to go on. I can just broadcast here. We reach just as many people. Yeah, somebody says that they're interested in purchasing a large amount of survival gear and food, but having a hard time getting through. I actually did notice a small bug in the store when adding multiple products that I'm working on. So, Alan, what I would recommend you do, and thank you for mentioning this because there's other people that are having problems with this, is send an email to support@amtvmedia.com with a list of items that you're interested in, and our support team, as well as myself, will make sure that you can check out. And we're fixing that problem right now. And I really appreciate you guys supporting us. Again, we're not a monopoly like Amazon that has total price control and just owns the world and that, delivers products via drone. We're actually just a normal little guy, just trying to survive, just trying to make it through to broadcast our message. So I really appreciate it. One thing I highly value is customer service, and I reach out personally to almost all of you, everyone that patronizes us, everyone that helps support our cause, because it means so much to me, and I want you guys to be 100% satisfied, because every product in the store, our bug-up bags, our food storage, I just got some, haven't even promoted it yet, but in fact, Alex, if you'd go to the store real quick, I just want to mention this to our audience. We just got some pretty badass solar generators in the store, which I haven't mentioned yet. I've sold 2 of them just actually in the past couple of days to one very nice lady out in Connecticut named Tracy, who bought the Home Grid. See which one it was. I believe she bought the AMTV Home Grid 5000 HD. If you can pull that up, Alex. But this thing is absolutely incredible. It's, you can look at the competition out there. For example, I'm trying to think of some of the brands that they've got. But you look at some of the things that they sell at like Walmart and these kinds of things. These things will barely power a cell phone and a laptop. It's not a true backup system. These are true backup systems that will power your refrigerator for 3 days and pretty much every major appliance in your household without sunlight. That's if things go dark for 3 days. Okay, I have a friend that actually in Texas, one of my good friends that owned one of these, so I put it in the store, who was using this when crap hit the fan as a result of Hurricane Harvey. So, if you shop it around, you'll see things that are cheaper, but I've just learned over time you get what you pay for. And what I'm concerned about is reliability when you need it. So these are amazing emergency backup systems. They're also just great backup systems in general. Free shipping on all of them. And if you have any questions regarding, because there's a few different versions of the product, it depends on what you need. In fact, Tracy needed the HomeGrid 5000 HD to power her well. And so the 5000 HD was the right product for her and the right solar backup generator. In fact, I'm going to throw out a special offer too, which I don't normally do. But if you are one of the next 2 people to inquire and ultimately purchase through consultation, which I'll speak with you directly if you're interested, legitimate inquiries please only. The next 2 people that buy any of the AMTV HomeGrid systems, I'll actually throw in on the house, free of charge, that's on top of free shipping, of course, a free EMP bag. That's also something so that if there is an electromagnetic pulse, it actually protects against that. This is superior technology. In fact, David, the engineer, who's based out in Idaho, I just talked to him. He's got a nice property out there. He actually built these systems for AMTV. These are custom systems, solar-backed generators, because we couldn't find anything else on the market that actually did its job. I tested some of these other units on my own property, and like I said, barely powered my freaking cell phone. Barely powered my laptop. It's pretty much all that it did. So these things are hardcore, badass, heavy-duty machines, and also very portable. So maybe you like to take your RV out on the weekends like I do, and you're mobile. These are very mobile units as well. So not only that, compare it, for example, to a traditional gas generator. You can't have a gas generator in your house. It'll spew CO2 emissions and kill you. These actually are preferred indoors. You keep your solar panels outside, but they run indoors. It's completely clean energy. Huge power. Let me go to one of the systems real quick here. AMTV HomeGrid 5000 HD, portable power to back up home essentials and emergency situations. Will run 110 volt and 220 volt tools and appliances simultaneously, up to 5,000 continuous watts, double the wattage of most of the competitors out there that you'll see. Batteries and solar panels are all included, and you can actually remove the batteries so that you can easily load it into the back of a pickup truck, which I do myself quite frequently as I'm on the move. And it's one of the major advantages and benefits of these units is you can load it right to the back of your pickup truck versus if you get a standard, say, backup generator. Typically these things weigh 300 plus pounds. In fact, I moved one with about 2 other guys just last weekend because we had bought one of those as well, and you just can't move the thing. So you can actually move one of these once you remove the batteries. All the batteries are replaceable. And the big difference between the 3,000 units and the 5,000 units, and probably our most popular unit that we've been selling, is the HomeGrid 5000 HD because it has the best combination of power, guts, portability, but also the battery lasts anywhere from 8 to 10 years. Versus the 3,000 unit still has a good shelf life, but it's more in the ballpark of about 3 to 5 years. And so you really get what you pay for, bottom line. And when it comes to backup power, when crap hits the fan, I'm not taking any shortcuts. So I've actually had a lot of inquiries recently. Christopher, do you carry any generators in the store? We do. I'm announcing this now. And again, if you're the next 2 customers through consultation, etc., to buy one of these machines, I'll even throw on top of the free shipping a free EMP bag, which I believe has a retail value over $300 itself or more. Might be more than that. I have to check. So thank you for your support. Let's go to more questions. Thank you again for your tremendous patronage and support. Somebody says, Chris, when are you going to start selling bats? I don't know if I've had actually people say that. I'm not sure. All joking aside, preparing your hearts for Christ Jesus is the only way. Somebody says, North Korea, don't answer the phone when North Korea calls, Chris. Let it go to voicemail. Okay. Great. Yeah, someone says, great. For a house, I live in a condo. Absolutely. And I'm going to have also 2 reviews on all of this, too, as Tracy, she just got her unit a few days ago. And so I'm going to have her review, and I think that's also very helpful for our audience, so you kind of know how people are using the product, et cetera. Again, she's using it for emergency backup power in a crap hit the fan scenario, but also just a part of her daily routine. It powers her well. Water is so, so important. I'm even considering putting it in one of my properties, but it can get expensive in certain areas of the country, depending on how hard the soil is. We've got very hard soil here in parts of Arizona, so they really want to hit you hard on just digging a well. But if you've got your own well, you've got your own water supply, that is just such a big, big deal. But she's using our 5000 HD system, our solar generator, the AMTV generator, for that specifically. And I'll get some feedback from her once she's there. I know she's gonna love it. Let's go to a few more questions here, then we'll close the show. Yep, only solar generator will work in an EMP. Somebody wants to know if they can come live with me. No, you can't live with me, sorry. Somebody says, and if we could send out some prayers this way, I don't have a name, but I have username S, says, hi from Canada. My son is on his way home from Jamaica. Thank God. Thank God, absolutely. Praise God, and send our prayers out to you. That is absolutely amazing. And I think that's important, too, that we need to think about everybody in need, everybody that is struggling right now. We need to pray for those people that are struggling with all kinds of things. It can even be good things. Maybe you're sending off your son to West Point or something like that, and it's just a new challenge and a new opportunity. But people that are struggling with health problems, cancer, divorce, personal issues, depression, anxiety. It's important to remind ourselves, because again, we're sold this lie of just grandiose self-absorption, consumerism, and all these things, they just don't really matter. We need to constantly remind ourselves that there's people that need our help, and that we need to be doing service to people that are less fortunate to all of us, and also sending our prayers and praying for those. So even if you like, I see just because a couple of comments here, if you guys have prayers that need to go your way, list it in the comment box, and we'll send it your direction as a part of our community. Michael says, once I have my platform, I will contact you. I actually spoke with a nice gentleman yesterday who patronized our store and also signed up on demand out in Canada. He wanted to know if we sold food storage to Alberta. Now, I'm actually looking for another supplier to get food store out to Canada. We sell our bug out bags out to Canada internationally, and also our water filtration systems. Not food storage yet. It's limited to the continental United States. And then we also send, I believe, to Alaska and Hawaii. And again, we've got 15% off on food store on the 2, 6, and 12-month packs. And again, if you have any questions or you have any problems checking out, again, this is not some thing where you call India, and it's like, hello. You can't understand who the person is. Nothing against that country or those people, but I really believe in customer service and taking care of each of every one of you as you guys take care of us and help us to grow our operations. So if you have any questions or you have any things new items, products you want to see in the store that are not there, please allow us to serve you, and send us a message with any questions or order questions or anything like that to support@amtvmedia.com. If you go to our website, store.amtvmedia.com, you'll see in the top left the email, support@amtvmedia. We can answer all questions on shipping, products, anything else that you would need. I think that's about it. God bless all of you. Thank you so much for tuning into our show. We'll keep you updated with all of these new developments. And again, folks, the signs are everywhere. This is biblical in nature. If you can't see it now, you truly are blind. So be humbled by the fact that we are not in control. Okay, we are not in control. These events are bigger than us. But we should take steps to prep. We should take steps to prepare, not just ourselves, but our friends, our family, the people that we care about, and I think more importantly, too, our own communities, which are going to be much more important as these disruptions continue to unfold, which we've already been living through in Texas and Florida. Now we're seeing what's happening in Puerto Rico with Maria and Jose and all of these other events, geopolitical events. We're living in some very troubling times. So that's it. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Hard hitting it in your face.